tonight. Tonight is our creature feature. We got a couple things to mention before we get into the show, such as Jared's Blaze Stream Roulette, Baron Craze's Dead on Arrival reviews, and of course we have our convention news coming much later. But we're going to get into our creature feature. A couple of announcements to make. Friday 13th. The video game is here. It's live. It went through some buggy shit in the beginning, but now you can play it, and it's a crap load of fun. And for some reason, my fucking mic isn't working. Great.
I hear you.
That's great. Can you hear me on the website? I don't know.
That's Hollywood.
That is Hollywood.
You know, we
great.
go professional next week.
There we go. I have no idea what's going on. Oh, Christ almighty. There we go. Yeah, you can hear me. Sorry about that. Don't know what was going on. But thank you for joining us. Today is our creature feature episode. We have a lot of stuff to talk about. We got our favorite creature feature movies for you. What I was talking about in the beginning is Friday the 13th video game is here. It's live, and you should play it for the Xbox One, PlayStation 4, and the PC as well. Couple things to announce. Twin Peaks is back. So that's very exciting. The show has been on a 25-year hiatus, and it's back, and it's David Lynchy in as shit. That's the best way to describe it. David Lynch has full control of it. Yada yada yada. It's back. Go check it out. It's on Showtime every Sunday night. We played some of the video game for Friday the 13th, and we had a couple of shares. So I want to give a shout out to Horror Society for sharing our video. Big shout out to them, and a big shout out to Fright Crate, who provided me with this wonderful Pennywise shirt, and they're in competition with Horror Box, so go check them out. They have great shit. But let's get into it. Tonight's episode, my name is Brian Enright. You can follow me on Facebook at Brian Enright, or at Instagram and Twitter at The Horror Jew. Up next, we have Baron Craze. Baron, good evening.
Greetings all. You can follow me and stalk me on Twitter under Baron_Craze, and also on Facebook under Baron Craze. And of course, the Baron's Crypt is also found on Facebook.
All right. Thank you very much, Baron. Up next, we have Jared Letourneau. Jared, good evening.
Good evening, Brian and boils and ghouls out there. You guys can follow me on Facebook at Jared Letourneau or at zombie_survivor on Twitter. I'd like to give a quick shout out to my Papa Letourneau. Happy birthday, Dad. Back to you, Brian.
Yay.
All right. Thank you very much, Jared. Up next, we have Morgan Jewell. Morgan, good evening.
Good evening, and you can follow me on Twitter at Morgan_Jewel_S.
All right. Thank you very much, Morgan. And of course, up next, we have our Sci-Fi's one and only Uncle Rayzilla.
Hey there, kids. It's your old Uncle Rayzilla. That's right. We're back. We've been gone for a little while, but now we're back and ready to rock and roll. Yes, I'm coming to you barely conscious from my secret lair located somewhere off exit 18E of the New Jersey Turnpike. If you'd like to take a look at my stupid Facebook page, you can follow me there at Ray Canella, or you can follow me on Twitter at RayzillaNJ. Back to you, Brian.
All right. Thank you very much, Uncle Rayzilla. And of course, last but not least, we have our president and Fuhrer, Razor. Ray, good evening.
Hey, good evening, everyone. If you can hear me, you can follow me at Razor_33. And I'd like to give a shout out to the boys over at Next Gen Nerds. Thanks for having me on the show on Monday. That'll be available next week because they pre-record so they can edit, which we cannot.
All of our goofiness.
Yeah, that's okay though, because it's all in good fun, right, guys? And girl.
Absolutely. Yay. All great
and I'm
fun.
looking at you, Rayzilla, when I say oh.
Oh, boy, thank you. I try. I do my best. This is a knockdown. I threw it on. I'm sorry.
It's good.
All right. Well, so we're going to get into it. Jared has a review that he covers every week. You can check it out on thehorrorsyndicate.com every Friday. But he's going to get into it right now. Jared, what do we have? What is the reviews that you are doing?
Last week, since we didn't go live with our podcast, I still did a review. It was on Sion Sonos 2015 Tag. a Japanese gore fest. You guys might remember him from Suicide Squad from 2001 or Suicide Squad 2, Noriko's Dinner Table. It was a clusterfuck of awesomeness. That movie is nuts. Battle Royale Parts Final Destination. Any horror fan should check it out at least once. So I got my win. So I won that week. As far as this week, I landed on a movie from Hulu, if you guys have that streaming service, and it's called Fear Incorporated from 2016, and it stars Lucas Neff. Sorry, he was the father of the sitcom Raising Hope, if you guys remember that. It's about a horror junkie and his friends sign up with a company that brings customized scares and your greatest fears to life. I saw the preview and it looks pretty intense. It's IMDb rated at 5.6 out of 10, so I think I could work with that, guys. What do you think? It's not bad.
Sounds interesting.
I think I saw the trailer for this once, and it actually did pique my interest. So, be excited to read your review and maybe check it out.
Yeah.
I do have Hulu.
Sweet. If you guys are interested in seeing my verdict, check out the website this weekend. Back to you, Brian.
All right. Thank you very much, Jared, for that wonderful review. We'll definitely go have to check that out. I know I will. Up next, we have a different type of review. Before we get to our creature feature, Baron Craze here describes it as digging at the underneath the barrel, not the bottom of the barrel, but underneath the barrel with the rubbles of shit. Baron, talk to us about your DOA review.
All right, before we get to the DO review, we'll be discussing one from about 2 weeks ago. I didn't write one this past week. As many know, I was writing up the reviews for the Rogue Cinema. The last issue was done. 37 reviews in 10 days is what I wrote. So let's get into the film that kind of tried to melt my brain before that. That was called Dracula Reborn. And Christ, it should have just been staked to the ground already. I mean, there are movies out there in the vampire culture that suck. Usually it's the adult porno films that are, intended to suck. Not like this shit. This shit, oh, fuck, what were they thinking? All right, let's try to get into it. First of all, this film is from 2015, not the one from 2012 named the same damn title. But the one from 2012 has got a higher rating, so unfortunately it won't be on the DOA list for a little while because we're still going headhunting for the crap out there. And God, this is a 1.9 film. There's not a lot to talk to you about this movie because there's not a lot in the film that happens. I mean, nothing really happens after 10 minutes of watching, I don't know, the intro. Then you've got 30 minutes of more dull shit happening, followed by more 60 minutes of more crap that doesn't make any sense. I mean, you have to understand, we're right now at the peak of Dracula the time. On May 26th of 1897, up to now, we had the anniversary of Dracula's book, 120 years. I thought this would be a good fucking film. Fuck no, that wasn't going to happen. Oh, that people had the film wrong. No, they had it right. This has got more CGI shit into it. Doesn't make any goddamn sense. In fact, if you notice on the website, there's not a lot of pictures. Why? Because there's nothing to show you in the goddamn film. There's just nothing to show you. In fact, they use the names of the characters from the Underworld series. What the hell? You couldn't come up with your own? The director is from Romania, in fact, and he couldn't come up with anything better? How the damn castle he's got for the fucking movie is just superimposed in the film. He didn't do anything with it. You would think he would have done something. No, this movie sucks. I wouldn't want anybody to watch it. You shouldn't watch it. Just leave it alone. It's been staked to the ground, and no one needs to be bothered with it. The film is absolutely stupid. In fact, the vampire's supposed to have superhuman strength. Guess what? This guy can't pick up a 110-pound victim. He is struggling, tipping and topping all over the place. He's having a hard time carrying his victim anywhere. He might as well gotten takeout from McDonald's. It would have been easier for him. So what do we got this week? Well, this week we're either going to have Birdemic Shock and Terror Part 1. However, that film is rated at a 1.8, a little high on the scale since we just located a film. And yes, we just located it. We don't know how it's going to play yet because it's really bad. It's called Ring of Terror from 1962. It's got a 1.6. It's going to hurt a lot to watch this piece of crap movie about a group of medical students undertake some silly, frightening endeavors to pledge a fraternity. Yeah, we already know it's going to be shit, and the Baron's going to have to go through it, all for your enjoyment, so you don't have to lose any more brain cells, damage those eye sockets, or just have to go see your cardiologist because you're going, Lord, my heart's about to give out with this crap that's in the horror genre. All right, so that's it. Back to you, Brian.
All right. Thank you very much, Baron. Thank you very much, Baron. It's always a pleasure hearing your DOA reviews dead on arrival before they even arrive, or if you can ever fucking find them. It seems like a lot of your movies are impossible to find for a good reason.
Brian, if you wanted that film, it would only cost you $24.99 off of Amazon. Go for it. Yes.
What?
Ooh.
Not
Talk
worth
about an eye
$80.
gouger. Oh.
Yeah, no, thank you. I'm sorry. No, I will not watch it. I will live vicariously through your reviews on the horrorsyndicate.com. That's what I will do.
True. So kids, send your prescriptions to the Baron, so he can continue to do the good work that he does.
The Lord's will. All right, so so here it is, the moment you've been waiting for. We have our creature feature. Basically, we're going to be talking about your favorite creature movies, our favorite creature movies. We're going to get into it. It's basically going to be a fun show. We want you guys to interact with us. We want you to comment below on Facebook, or if you're watching us on YouTube, we want you to comment below and let's talk about our favorite creature feature movies. It should be a lot of fun. At least I hope so. Whether your favorite creature feature movie be Creature from the Black Lagoon, Troll 2, God, Gremlins, Critters, anything you can think of where the main antagonist or protagonist is a creature. So let's get into it. What was the first time you guys here have seen a creature movie that really made you go, wow, we're rooting for this guy? I want to hear from you guys at Syndicate. Not everyone answer at once.
Yeah, who wants to go first?
Bueller?
Well, I'll tell you what. Monster Squad was the first movie that I saw. And this is before the Universal Monster movies, before I was introduced to them. I've always known about them. My mom always, said with her Philadelphian accent that that Dracula was a movie starring
Dracula.
Yeah. Dracula got the R at the end. The South Philly accent, toilet, which means toilet. Water ice, or the Philadelphia accent kicked in heavily. But I was introduced to Dracula again with Monster Squad, and I remember constantly going to the video store and renting Monster Squad, and I was just so intrigued by it. With the fact that I got to see kids fight all of these monsters, such as the Wolfman and Dracula and the Creature from Black Lagoon and the Mummy, of course. And I eventually fell in love with Fred Decker and Shane Black, the masterminds behind Monster Squad, Night of the Creeps. A short on the Tales of the Crypt called All Through the House, which is I think it was directed by Robert Zemeckis, but I know Fred Decker wrote it. But it was just this movie that got me hooked, and it speaks well. The thing is, you don't get monster horror movies, especially kids movies, that were so adult and just didn't give a shit. The way that Monster Squad didn't give a shit when it first came out. I think the 80s was a different time for movies starring children, unless it's a foreign film nowadays. If it stars children, it seems a little bit on the R-rated side. It's not really an American release.
Does Monster Squad predate Goonies or post-date Goonies? Does anybody in the Syndicate?
It does,
because
Goonies,
you make a really good point about 80s cinema, and that was very much in vogue at the time. How old were you when you saw Monster Squad?
Oh, I think I was. Monster Squad came out before I was born. I was born in '88. I believe Monster Squad came out in '86.
86 or 87, yeah. Something like
So
that.
yeah, so I wasn't around, but I got, growing up as a child of the 90s, I had the luxury of going to mom and pop video stores, Blockbuster, Hollywood. You really couldn't find Monster Squad in the bigger commercial video stores. It was such a it was a known movie, but it wasn't as well known. And I remember it was 2008 or 2009 that we finally got to see Monster Squad get a DVD release. I know that it was out of print for a while on VHS, and you couldn't
That's a
find it
shame.
anywhere. And then it finally got to see the light of day. But the fact is, you brought up Goonies, which is a great fucking point. The Goonies, when the Monster Squad came out, people were like, "Oh, this is just the Goonies, but with Universal monsters," which, in a sense, it was,
Yeah.
but it was also something different because
It's a good script.
yeah,
It's a good script now, and Stan Winston did the effects, correct?
yes. And it was just, it's just, one of a kind movie that you just, you don't get anymore. You don't get these types of movies,
No.
especially with everything being so watered down. Like the PG-13 that we have nowadays will never be the PG-13 that was there in the 80s and the 90s. I think another creature feature was responsible for that. Wasn't it Gremlins?
Yeah, Gremlins and Temple of Doom were both basically responsible for the emergence of PG-13. But Monster Squad, to stay on Monster Squad though, it has that battle royale, almost WWE collection of monsters there, battling one another. It is very much a reflection of the times. And by the way, Stan Winston's Gill Man, the creature from the Black Lagoon, is still one of the best that has been done on camera. It's a fantastic Gill Man costume, and even the Wolfman costume, the transformation sequence is top notch, which you would expect to get from Stan Winston. But having all of these monsters together almost gave it a sort of a pro wrestling feel to it. It's
all the heavyweights.
Yeah, it's a terrific monster movie. It's a great creature feature.
Yeah, and it's just a movie that's one of a kind. You're not going to get movies like this anymore. It's just not going to happen, and especially since
Universal's trying, aren't they?
Yeah, well,
They're trying.
We'll definitely talk about this. We could talk about it right now if you guys want to. The reviews are out, people. Tom Cruise's The Mummy is I think one site said it's so bad it's so good, and another site just said it's terrible. I think the one site, I can't remember the site, they explained it as it's a Tom Cruise machine, which I'm a little skeptic because I think I know what they mean by it's a Tom Cruise machine. Considering that there are certain elements to a Tom Cruise movie that only everyone who is obsessed with Tom Cruise or just knows about Tom Cruise can relate to what type of that movie that movie would be. I mean, I don't expect him jumping around on the sofa, holding the mummy's hands and screaming "I love you" to it. But I mean, the movie is crap, and somewhere Brendan Fraser is rolling over in his grave. So
the Brendan Fraser film was wildly successful. I didn't care for it personally, but it was a very successful movie. But this Tom Cruise film, this is their cinematic universe. This is the launch of a cinematic universe. So there's a lot riding on this. If this Mummy movie tanks, then who's going to go see the next one?
Right.
You're gonna, you're gonna see a lot of bickering and arguing. I think very similar in vein to what we saw after Batman versus Superman came out.
There's gonna be a lot of apprehensiveness.
A lot of backbiting and things like that. But But no, I mean, I'm guessing that you were, Brian, I'm guessing that you were around the same age as perhaps some of the characters in the film from Monster Squad, that perhaps the movie, really stuck to you like that. I know I can speak from experience that, the horror films where I was close in age to one of the main characters, like Phantasm, when we had our Phantasm episode. That had a particular impact on me as well. So I could see you being a kid watching this movie with all of these monsters and it having that effect on you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It had such a tremendous effect on me as a kid because it set. I know Jared, who's a little bit older than me, got to experience the Monster Squad when he was a kid when it first came out. He's got his, ladies and gentlemen,
Monster Squad. There you go.
He's got his
ready.
shirt on right now.
There he is, walking doing the catwalk. There you go.
Those watching right now, I do understand that there is some technical issues where the other hosts can be, barely heard. But just bear with us as we try to fix, the audio. I know I myself maybe sound like I'm overbearing, but I do apologize for the inconvenience. It is live, so we will try to fix this issue as much as we can. But hang in there as we progress during the show. But comment.
This one's
below.
on the house. This one's on the house, folks. All right, this one is a freebie, guys. Okay. We go professional next week.
But please comment your favorite creature feature below, and we will mention you as we are talking live right now. As pertaining to your question, or your statement, more of your statement, I was a child and I got to see Monster Squad as a child, and it really raised the bar of what to expect from horror movies growing up into my adult years. And the thing about Monster Squad is you grow up with it. It's not like one of those movies you watch as a child and you say, well, it was really good when I was a kid, but when I watched it as an adult, it kind of sucked. No, I mean, Monster Squad
it works it works on the adult level. So sorry to interrupt you, but absolutely, and the ending is fantastic. It's a very cleverly written movie. The with regards to the incantation that has to be read out loud, that ending's a very, very, very clever ending.
Is she a version?
Yeah. And so who do you? Well, there's the youngest child is there, and of course, so you have her read the incantation, and it's so simple. The answer is obvious right in front of you the entire time, but it's so well put together, the movie, that reveal at the end is just the icing on the cake of what it's already an entertaining movie. It's so cleverly written.
Oh yeah. Before we move on, I'd like to piggyback on you guys as well. Like, most of us had probably seen Goonies first before we saw that movie, so the comparisons are obvious. But these kids were saying shit. They were saying, damn it, nards. Like, right. I was 6 years old. I was like, these kids are fucking awesome. And they were peeping Toms on the girl next door. I mean, like, these kids were my heroes back then. Like, woo.
I feel like we could just have an entire show on Monster Squad and you just never run out of things to talk. I know that they had the kids from Monster Squad go to I think it was Bloody Disgusting presents Wizard World. I think it was in Philadelphia, and I know Don Dokken performed Dream Warriors and a couple of Dokken's other hits, but they had the Monster Squad reunion there, and they played the movie. And it's really awesome to see these movies come back to life and reach out to the younger generations, especially in a time where social media is huge. You can if you don't even need to go to a movie store anymore to find Monster Squad. You can find it on Amazon and you can watch it. Does it take away the thrill of going to a video store and watching on a VHS? Yeah, it does. But it's such a powerful movie that, like I was saying before, when you watch it as a child compared to when you watch it as an adult, nothing changes. It's a really well written movie. It's really well directed. It's really a shame that Fred Decker's next project after that was RoboCop 3, and we just haven't seen another Fred Decker movie.
It bombed. It was too adult for the little kids, but not adult enough for the adults.
Right.
And it's a shame, but that's big studio for you. We talk about it all the time on every episode. But definitely Monster Squad was something that Jared has grown up to love, watching as youth. I've grown up watching it. Chuck Ransford, you just commented saying that you used to watch it with me a long time ago at my house, which is correct. Chuck Ransford, who has commented on our Facebook post. I got him into horror movies. I used to babysit him. This is going way back. The guy's an adult now.
Monster Squad has that Goosebumps feel to it too, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. And you know what? Goosebumps for its time was really well done as well. I think it was on. I think it was the show that was on before the X-Files on Fox, every Saturday night or something like that.
So you used to turned your buddy. I interrupted you. You turned your buddy onto horror movies and such with the Monster Squad. You guys used to hang out and watch it.
I used to corrupt their minds. I used to make them watch. We used to watch Toxic Avenger. Monster Squad. We used to
creature feature.
Yeah,
Toxie's a creature feature.
Yeah, Toxie, Trauma always releases crazy creature features, whether it be Toxic Avenger to H.R. Giger's Killer Condom, which is a movie in itself. And of course you've had your thank you, Greg Wright, for mentioning Tales from the Dark Side. We had our TV series anthologies, such as Tales from the Dark Side, Tales from the Crypts. A huge one was, Ray Cannella. You used to work for Sci-Fi Channel, and you guys produced Monsters, which is out of print, and it's almost hard to find anywhere. But it was one of those anthologies to watch. Yeah. That was
we didn't produce it. We didn't produce Monsters. Monsters was produced by Laurel Productions, which was Richard Rubenstein. And for those of you who recognize that name, you might recognize that name from Dawn of the Dead. It was a spin-off of Tales of the Dark Side, and we simply acquired the rights to it. We didn't produce the show when I was with Sci-Fi Channel, but it's rarely seen. And I don't believe it's available. I don't believe it's available in any medium.
Yeah, I've seen I've seen on some of the horror DVD pages on Facebook, horror DVD Blu-ray collectors page. You can find them. Someone will have it, or they'll post the site where to get it. I think the latest I saw was $40 on BarnesandNoble.com. Wow. I don't know how many is in stock. But that show had a lot of famous people in it, like from Steve Buscemi. I can't think of any of the other actors, but I remember his one scene or his one episode where he's like dating a monster or something like that. I don't know, but it was a great fucking show. Absolutely.
Now, is this your buddy Greg here? He says next time, try to enjoy the daylight.
The daylight.
He said it always gave him chills. Yeah, that's a great line.
Yes,
about that was from Tales from the Dark Side. That was like at the tail end of Tales from the Dark Side.
Yep.
Now they just
the dark side. What was it? Something like the dark side is dimly lit, or some crap like that. It used to be at the end of the.
I know Tales from the Dark Side. You can now view it on Shudder. They have all the episodes on Shudder, or Walmart and Best Buy sells the complete series, as well as the Friday the 13th series, which has nothing to do at all with Jason Voorhees. And Jared, let's pull you up real quick. He's got the complete series, all 4 seasons of Tales from the Dark.
Yeah, and I got the Friday the 13th. I actually got them both at Best Buy. They're about $25-$30 a pop. But countless hours of old 80s horror TV.
Yeah, and it's all Ray Canella's fault for producing it on Sci-Fi and making me stay up till 2 o'clock in the morning before I got to see those wacky infomercials that had nothing to do with science fiction or horror, but it was horrific.
I take blame for Saturday nights on Sci-Fi. That was Saturday nights was completely my fault. And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
But anyone else want to get on here about their first time seeing a feature creature monster movie that changed their fucking life?
Well, I'm going to pop in here then, guys, because
Go ahead.
The film for me that had the most profound effect on me was the 1933 King Kong, and I was around 8 years old when I first saw King Kong on television, and that would make it around. We're talking 1971, 1972.
Forgive him, folks.
His
memory is coming back to him.
Yes, it does, and it's been a long day, but for some strange reason, the local television stations here in New Jersey on Thanksgiving Day would show King Kong, Mighty Joe Young, and King Kong versus Godzilla. And it was, I think it was either WOR or WPIX. And both of them were local television stations. And I don't know why this was the tradition, but, it was either counter programming to football or whatever it was. And I was 8, 9 years old. I think one or the other, I can't truly recall. But I sat and I watched King Kong, and it completely blew my mind. But I looked at it in such a way that I knew that I knew that it wasn't real. I knew that it was just a movie. Even at that young age, I didn't think that this actually had happened, and this was a documentary. I knew it was a movie, and that it was done with some sort of film trick, film magic, and that really started me down the road to pursuing a career in film and a career in television. The movie just completely blew me away from a technical standpoint, which is a shame, because it took me a little while to truly gain the meaning of the movie. After a while, people want to associate that the film was always as it says in the towards the end of the film, when Carl Denham says the planes didn't get him, it was beauty killed the beast. Some people felt that was the moral of the story, but once you begin to examine the film and you look at the film within the context of the era it was made, 1932, 1933, we're talking about the height of the Depression, and King Kong, I think, plays more about the story of rooting for the little guy. The little guy's been stepped on. You have to hold a mirror to society for a moment in 1933 and realize that there were breadlines. People were out of work. People were starving. People were living in the streets. It was an exceptionally difficult time for the nation. And brother, can you lend a dime? Brother, can you spare a dime? And King Kong is this character that's taken from his comfortable life, and his world is turned upside down, much like many of the people who found themselves first unemployed and then homeless back in the Depression era. And while he was a king on his island, once he comes to Manhattan, he's dwarfed by the buildings here, and he suddenly becomes the little guy. And he's shot down by the planes, and we're actually sympathetic towards the monster. We're sympathetic towards the creature, and suddenly we're rooting for the little guy, and that's exactly what audiences in 1933 were looking for. They were looking for someone rooting for the little guy, and King Kong delivered. And the movie was enormously successful. Again, this is during an era when people had little money to go to the movies. Going to the movies back then was a luxury, and but it was also an escape. And I think Kong provides that escape for audiences, but also gives them, held a mirror to society, and held a mirror to the times that they were living in. And that's when these films are truly at their best. And I think when most monster movies are at their best, when the monster is not as obvious, when the monster is used as a metaphor. We could talk about films like The Blob. Many people point to that movie as a metaphor for the spread of communism. Or, yes, or Invasion of the Body Snatchers being a metaphor for McCarthyism. These were the topics of those eras. Godzilla is very much a metaphor for the bombing of Hiroshima. And that's, and that's, I think, in many ways, the purpose of a monster movie. If the purpose of a horror film is to leave the audience feeling uncomfortable, then the purpose, I think, of a monster film is to hold a mirror to society and reveal who the monsters are. Even a film like District 9, if any of you ever saw District 9, it's more than a creature feature. It's a story of apartheid. It's the government-sanctioned, systematic segregation of living beings based on race. That's what the film is about. It takes place in South Africa. It's holding a mirror to apartheid. And this is where creature features truly work, and this is where they're truly at their best. But King Kong for me really had the most profound effect on me as a monster film. And it was from there that I had to seek out how the movie was made. I found Famous Monsters of Filmland, which was the magazine of the time. There was no Fangoria, of course. There was no Starlog. There was no magazines around. All you had was Famous Monsters of Filmland, and that's when I learned about people like Willis O'Brien and Marion Cooper, and the people who made that magnificent film. And it was like having a magician reveal his secrets to me. And that's what started me on the road to becoming a horror fan, really, a horror and science fiction fan. Was all because of that monster that was pulled from his home and trapped in a world that he didn't make, and died in a world he didn't make. It's a tragic film, and for its time, it was a technological marvel, but it also tugged at the heartstrings as well. Yeah, and that's why it stands the test of time to this day.
Yeah, that's awesome. I want to get to Morgan, creature feature. Come on, what was the? Don't say Scream. You cannot use Scream as an option. It just doesn't work right now to use.
It can't happen.
No, getting out of this one.
No, so creature feature, Morgan. When was the first time you got to see your creature feature?
Well, I feel like I've said this before when we had a similar episode, but I feel like I haven't seen that many creature features, or maybe like my mind's just going blank whenever we talk about these, and I can't think of them. But
you saw Alien though, right? You saw Alien, like.
Yeah. Yes.
We mentioned Alien like a broken record on this show, for good reasons, obviously. And you saw The Thing, right? The John Carpenter's The Thing.
Yes. And these were all recently that I just saw them. That was a weird order of words, but yeah.
So
I feel like a lot of the creature features that I have seen are either shark movies or alien movies.
That's in Ray Canella's world, that's not a bad thing. Shark movies are huge, of course, and but let me ask you a question, because I know you really started getting into the creature features as a student entering this world of adulthood. You're gonna be graduating from college, and you're gonna be entering this world where the world's a lot scarier than being chased by a monster. But watching these creature feature films, you know, how does that resonate with you as an adult, knowing that you didn't watch these when you were a kid, but as an adult, are they funny to you, or you know, do they seem scary because it's something that you're not used to? You know, like give me an idea. How did you feel after watching Aliens and The Thing?
It just depends on the movie. For like Alien and The Thing, those two are some that I find kind of scary. You know, when it's creatures like that, because you can't really fight back, or it's harder to fight back because you don't have a knowledge of the creature and like how to fight them. And so I've always found alien movies scary. And one that I think is really scary is Dark Skies, which I don't really know if that's horror, but that one's really creepy. But there are some that just like are really funny right now, but I know there's a lot that are not scary and just like, oh wow, this could probably be scary if a little kid watched it, but no.
You know, some might argue that people who are currently in college right now have a creature running the United States of America. You know, that may seem a little scary. But we won't get into that. But you know, thank you for your insight. And I know that you're
Brian and Ryan.
I know that you're still new to these creature movies, and you started out with Scream, which is huge, and that's awesome. And that's Cloverfield, 10 Cloverfield Lane. That is a perfect example.
Yes.
Talk about your experience with that.
Well, I really like this movie because I don't know, I just think it's really good, and it was a really popular movie. Not even just for horror fans. I feel like it was a really popular movie for just movie fans in general, and it did really well. I remember I tried to go see it in theaters whenever it was out last summer, I think, and I had gone, like, it had already been out for about a month, but when I went, it was sold out, and so I couldn't see it, and that was a month after it had been out already. So I feel like that was a really good thing. So I didn't end up watching it until it was out on DVD. But yeah, I really like it. I really thought all the actors did a great job. Mary Elizabeth Winstead. What is his name?
Were you
John Goodman.
Were you able to see the original Cloverfield?
I did not see it before I saw 10 Cloverfield Lane. I actually just watched the original Cloverfield for the first time last week.
That's a good movie too.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and 10 Cloverfield Lane, kind of like, I didn't think about this when I watched it because I hadn't seen Dawn of the Dead yet, but now looking back on it, it's kind of very similar to Dawn of the Dead, the way it is set up, because like for a big chunk of it, you know, it's just them, it shows them like surviving in this like apocalyptic world or whatever, and they're just chilling, and then, you know, stuff goes crazy and they have to deal with the creatures
The same as Dawn.
in the world. Yeah.
Yeah.
Human interactions. Yeah.
Never thought about that.
And you know, and Shaky Cam was out for a while now, and Cloverfield was actually the first time we had a Shaky Cam monster movie. This is not comparing to the Blair Witch. You know, Shaky Cam before the Blair Witch was Cannibal Holocaust, which is very minimal in the movie. But Cloverfield was the first time we got Shaky Cam, and a lot of viewers when it first came out didn't like it. Morgan, they didn't care for Cloverfield. They thought it was an awful movie, and it wasn't until it was such a cult following, it became a lot more successful. So, you know, you got to see after the fires have burned and the ashes were scattered, you got to see Cloverfield and 10 Cloverfield Lane. So, I mean, that's got to be exciting. You know, at least you can see it from perspective of not hating it. Did you liked it, of course, right, Cloverfield?
Yeah, I do like 10 Cloverfield Lane better than Cloverfield, though.
Okay. All right.
Nice.
Well, very cool.
And
Very cool.
there
Do you
is a
know-
new Cloverfield movie being made, and it
Say
should
what?
be coming. Yeah, and I think it's coming out next year. But yeah,
You know,
John
some
Goodman
have
is a
said
Cloverfield.
that some have felt that Cloverfield is actually a metaphor for 9/11, particularly the scene where the Statue of Liberty is decapitated. Again, monsters being used as metaphors. You know, sometimes it's more than just a monster movie. That sometimes we are holding a mirror to society, and you know, letting that out to the subconscious, perhaps, if you will, sort of a cathartic release by illustrating how we feel through monster films. You know, it's very evident in the Toho movies, particularly Godzilla and Rodan as well.
indeed.
Yeah.
And on one of our past shows, I remember you talking about, or maybe it was just us talking, but you were talking about how in monster movies sometimes there's also another character that's like the villain because
Right.
who's a human, and that's definitely
Yeah,
what
not
happens
all-
in 10 Cloverfield Lane. And like I have this little poster from it that says monsters come in many forms. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's exactly a good
Clever.
the right point.
Yeah, that was something that, you know, a device, you know, one of the rules of monster movie making that I would employ is that when a monster is acting on instinct, and in 10 Clover Lane, the creatures are simply being what they are. You know, they have no agenda per se. That a human villain is always required. You know, in that sort of scenario. And yeah, 10 Cloverfield Lane uses that particular device quite well. It's tried and true.
Mhm. So, but yeah, you know, as we get further into the creature feature, anyone else have any experiences they would like to share with their creature feature, their favorite creature feature movie, as we cover up the segment of how we were introduced in the creature features.
Sure. May I?
Yeah, Baron, go ahead, man.
All right. So, you know, everybody talks about these creature feature films. They got the werewolf, the creature like Black Lagoon. They got all these. I go with the actual true creature, environmental horror. I love environmental horror, where the creature is nature itself, rebelling against the human monsters invading its territory. One of the first movies I ever saw was Grizzly.
Nice.
The movie, but still, it's basically a bear that's a little pissed off that you've taken away most of its food sources. So, hey, meat is meat, and I'm going after you. But the film that I want to share here is Kingdom of the Spiders. This is an interesting kind of B movie. It's got William Shatner in it, and directed by John Bud Cardos. And if you are anywhere of who he was, he had helped out in films such as Psycho and also The Bird. So he has a connection to Hitchcock, one of my favorite directors. But the film, the Kingdom of the Spiders, is an interesting movie. People first think, well, it can happen in real life. Well, guess what, folks? Spiders are quite crafty little creatures. I mean, right now, I guarantee you, there's one watching you right now. Guarantee. He's watching you. He's up in the corner. He's down on the floor. He's in
Little bastards.
waiting for you in the bathroom when you go take a shit. He's there. Or she. Hey, listen, they're in your bedrooms and they're in your bathrooms. They're in 100% of the homes right now. Everybody's got at least one. I'm hoping that I have a whole nest in mine. All right. Now, spiders are going to eat about 400 million tons of flesh annually. I hate to tell you this, folks, but as humans, we only come up to about 287 million tons of food. So basically, the spiders can gnaw on us and still have room and time to eat all your little delicious pets. They'll just have a good time. Morgan, I know there's one hiding behind those filing cabinets in your room there, or maybe behind your what you're sitting on. They're just waiting right there. Don't worry. If they traipse through your hair during the middle of the night, just don't get them angry because they don't like to be blown on in any way. But hey, It's a great movie. You should check it out. It is a lot of fun. And when I say it can happen in real life, spiders have a tendency to know when nature's going to rise the waters. So they make silk roads and they go across. Or, hey, they actually get a little parachute. Their webs form up, get carried along the wind, and they land. And most recently, in Australia, they decided to bury most of a town in cobwebs just because they could, because somebody eliminated their food sources. So when I say nature horror films are great, because it's reality. It's there. It's just like we have the Nest movie with the cockroaches. These movies are creepy. They freak people out. They can't handle a cockroach walking on their skin, and they definitely can't handle tarantulas crawling around. So, hey, my thing for people is you want creature features, just go out to nature and ask it to attack you, because it will be more than happy to go after you, because you're messing up its climate control, so it's going to mess up your world. Maybe next time you're sucking on a straw or something, you can have a spider up there saying, hey, let me check out your mouth. I'm curious, because that was arachnophobia. Things getting into people's lives all over the place. So that's when we have real monsters, not these fake ones of the theater and such. You know, so
Grizzly Baron.
What?
Grizzly Baron. That was Christopher George?
Yes.
No? Yes.
Yes, Christopher George, he was in that. He was in the film also called Day of the Animals, which is celebrating an anniversary right now. So that's another great film, again, where people dismiss that movie because, oh, what disease, what chemical could affect anything above 5,000 feet above sea level? And I go, well, if you have a sickle cell disease and you're above 5,000 feet and you exert energy, guess what? You'll be exerting it for the last time as you die. So if you're a football player with sickle cell, you can't play in Denver. You're not allowed. You have a lot of physical problems. Here we have animals that are very pissed off from all the chemicals being released. And what do? They attack a bunch of people out for a nature hike. They attack a town. We have rats in that movie. We've got rattlesnakes. We got eagles, vultures, bears. Oh my, what the fun. Oh, we've got Leslie Nielsen from the Naked Gun movies having a dance with a grizzly bear. Of course, he doesn't win in the end, but hey, what the hell, right?
Well, you know what, Baron? I got one more to throw at you. How about my favorite, Frogs?
Oh, of course, Frogs from '72. Very good movie. Again, you're encroaching in on the element of nature. I mean, I'm going to jump here a little bit. There's a film called The Long Weekend. This is a great movie to watch. It really gets into the nature's attack on people. The littering and such. Again, it's shown in Frog. You litter, you think that nature's not eventually going to say, I've had enough of you. I've been here longer than you. I'll be here after you're gone. I don't need you, but you need me, but you like to hurt me. You're like hurting your mother. Hurting nature is your mother, and you like to hurt. So just everybody's basically in the mattress side out there. It's a big fun hobby of everybody's. So, hey, I like the real creature. Again,
Frogs, man. I mean, Ray Milland. How do you go wrong with Frogs? You got Ray Milland in a wheelchair.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
You got the.
I saw that on the big screen, by the way. I saw Frogs in the theater as a kid. It wasn't. I don't think it was in its first run. It was definitely a double feature, but I checked that out on the big screen. That's a personal favorite. I love that damn film.
Oh yeah, I mean, like I said, nature films always I have a special place because the possibility. Yes, somebody else is yelling out. Yes, that's right. They have a good possibility to be there. They just do. They're around. Let's face it. Jared's got to put a hat on, so those spiders are dropping on his hair while he, is out there going, I don't need any spiders on me. I don't need them. Okay, Jared, they'll just curl up your leg and they'll be fine there to find a nice place to make a nest somewhere just for a few minutes.
You pick a few out of your bed.
Yeah, no problem. So that's my little contribution. By the way, on the Monster Squad, just to throw it out, it is a great movie and everything. And I'm one of the few select people I know that have the original poster for that.
Wow.
Reprints out there of that poster. And I have one of the originals. Definitely know it because it's got all the little pinholes and such when it kept being put up in theaters. So I'm really happy to say that, hey, I have one of those cherished memorabilia. Hoping one day to get the cast to sign it if they can ever travel this way to the East Coast, and I can get that signed.
I think they're going to be in Indianapolis for a Horror Hound this fall.
Horror Hound?
Yeah. Pretty sure they're having a Monster Squad reunion.
I think they were at Wizard World this past weekend, but tickets were like $97
Yeah.
a person, which in Wizard World cons, that's acceptable, but not in horror cons. Horror cons
Not acceptable for Wizard World either.
Yeah, well, that's crazy. $97 a fucking ticket.
I mean,
I
Try to get the autographs for who knows how much? No, sorry. Bypass.
yeah. But Ray, I want to hear from you, man.
Which Ray?
Razor. You do.
Razor.
I'm not a fan
President.
of creature movies.
You haven't seen enough creature movies?
I mean, I've seen Godzilla, and I hate all of them, but I've seen. I liked King Kong, but the one I saw was from the 70s. And I saw King Kong Lives.
Jessica
When I was a kid.
Lange.
I liked that, but I was a kid. When he was getting a heart transplant or some shit.
You saw the Dino De Laurentiis King Kong.
Yeah, and I thought
That beauty right there.
Cloverfield was okay. I do think I like Cloverfield better than the 10 Cloverfield Lane. Creature movie. I guess when it comes down to it, I do like the little guys, like Ghoulies. They're both terrible. Well, there's four.
Well, Ray, now hold the phone.
They're a lot of
You
fun.
seem to be a very big fan of Creature from the Black Lagoon.
I do, but see, I have a problem with separating things. Like a Creature from the Black Lagoon, I pit with Universal Monsters and Creature. It's my brain works differently from everyone else, and I realize Creature's a creature because he's even called the Creature. But at the same time, I pit him in with the monster movies, which I think the creatures you're talking about, gigantic, destroy everything, Rampage. That's my favorite creature feature. The video game from the 1980s, the Nintendo game.
Fucking Rampage.
Oh, Rampage is the best. Oh God, I love the Rampage.
They're making a movie out of that too with The Rock.
Yeah, and The Rock's also going to star as the fucking Wolfman.
I don't even talk about that. See,
Or Johnny Depp as the Invisible Man. Flying fuck.
I also heard about Michael Fassbender playing Dracula and Angelina Jolie playing the Bride. I don't even get into that. They're already fucking themselves over.
Oh my god!
Well, if the mummy tanks,
Hey,
who knows what happens?
That Dracula Untold movie wasn't great, but it wasn't a bad place to start. They shouldn't start with the Mummy. But anyway, and they should have made it a horror movie, not an action Tom Cruise movie. I heard what you guys were saying.
Yes, absolutely, yes.
But
Mission Impossible versus mummies.
if I had to pick my favorite creature, I probably would say Critters or Gremlins.
Cool.
I love the Gremlins. There's a scene in the first Gremlin movie where they're in the bar, I think, and one of them all of a sudden decides to do like jazzercise and shakes his little butt and stuff. I love that scene. And then every moment of Critters and Critters 2 is just is a creature gore or creature gold for me. The part in Critters 2, we watch it on Easter because of the scene where the policeman dresses up in the critter. They paint all the critter eggs. That's just so good. And and Critters really takes me back to the atomic age of horror. In many ways, and there's a couple of old ones like Them, I think is what it's called, with the ants.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a great movie.
Yes.
So I guess I do like some creature features, but like the main ones, like Godzilla, I never got the draw to that. But I love the Matthew Broderick one. I'm joking. Totally joking.
Bueller.
I got a special
Bueller.
to go see that opening night here in St. Louis, and didn't have quite the story Rayzilla had, but I saw it. I'm like, oh, this movie's something. And
Oof.
yeah,
It's
it
a
was.
movie.
It was. I had never seen a Godzilla movie, so if that tells you anything, I went back and watched the other ones, and I'm like, well, these are no good either. So I just couldn't get into it. My brother-in-law loves Godzilla. Not to say that they're bad movies. They're they're not for me.
It
So,
just didn't
I like
tickle the
look-
cockles of your heart.
No, you know me. I'm big into slasher movies. I mean, that's where my my heart lies. Playing that Friday the 13th game, I'm just going through my slasher collection right now. Like, wow! So in the living room, I had Friday the 13th playing with Jared and Brian, and we had a great time. And then I had the movies playing on the other TV. You know, I got through all 12 movies, Friday the 13th movies. No, 11, because I didn't watch Freddy versus Jason. But I got through all those, and I'm just that's my bread and butter. I don't like the creature features as much, but Gremlins and Critters, that's my heart.
I'm glad you
Is
brought up Critters.
Does Critters post-date E.T.? Because I know,
Yeah.
Critters
Yes.
always felt
Yeah.
to me like it was the anti,
I wanna say 86.
it was the answer to E.T. almost
That's
in a
about
way.
right.
Well, a lot
I
of them
think
were answers to ET.
Well, yeah, because Gremlins is 84. I think Critters is 86 or 87.
Right.
Let me check here.
I think Gremlins was
Yeah, 86.
Spielberg's answer to ET.
I have a soft spot for Critters because I grew up in Kansas and the movies are set in Kansas. Middle of nowhere, Kansas.
They're great movies.
They carried on the Wayward Son.
Probably why I like Halloween so much too, because it's set in Illinois. You know, and growing up, I always told my brother Haddonfield was a real place, and it's not far from us. And Michael Myers is real and all that shit. So,
Well, it's awesome. It's awesome that you mentioned Gremlins. Gremlins was originally supposed to be R-rated. There was actually a scene where
kind of surprised it's not.
the mother's head gets decapitated and rolled down the steps after the main character. That scene was completely cut. Just because of the fear that it would upset children. Which
That sounds cool.
probably
I do like her whole fight with the Gremlins. I thought that was really cool, and how she made it.
In the kitchen with the blender.
Yes. Yeah, she was actually supposed to lose.
Yeah.
One of the while we're talking about creature features, kind of going toward not exactly King Kong, but when the monsters are actually the victims. One of my favorite fucking movies of all time is Nightbreed, and it's such a fantastic movie. And it's a shame that the studio wanted it to be a slasher, because if you go back and you watch it, I know Scream Factory released a couple of years ago. They released the Nightbreed director's cut, which is amazing.
Is that the Cabal cut? Or was it
Awesome.
the director's
It's the Cabal cut. Pretty much it's what it is. The Cabal cut was shown in theaters, during private screens from not David Cronenberg, Clive Barker, and it was like he was like, this is my original idea, before the studio came over and said, we need you to make it more of a slasher movie. And that's what we got in 1990. We got this, this slasher movie where you knew the creatures were in distress, but you didn't really feel for them, because it was a very watered down, cut dry movie. And the Cabal cut is 45 minutes longer.
So hold on, Brian. Let me ask you this. So
yeah,
the version that Scream Factory released is
yes,
the director's Cabal cut, because I own that.
yes,
Now, the
yes, that is.
version I just recently saw this. It was on Netflix. Now that's just the regular version, right?
No, that was on Netflix. Is the Cabal cut?
Is it?
The theatrical.
It makes
Go ahead.
it makes the underground monsters more sympathetic.
So I got to figure out what I've seen then, because like I really enjoyed Nightbreed quite a bit, and like I wonder if I've seen the right cut. That's I always wonder that whenever because I haven't watched my Scream Factory edition yet. I probably should very soon.
The original one kind of centered around Cronenberg's serial killer arc a little closer.
That's the Cabal cut.
No, the original theatrical
That's the one I've
version.
seen, because that seemed like the main storyline, and then he, I wonder how closely the Cabal cut is to the story, the Clive Barker the story.
It's extremely close. In fact, Clive Barker had full creative control, and then of course, like all movies where you get this full creative control, once you go into the editing room, the big wigs come in, they take over, and that's
fucked up Twin Peaks.
Well, you know,
That's-
I've
it's-
never read the book, but I did see Nightbreed in the theater, and yes, there was definitely more. And again, this was you know, this was a time when Fangoria was really, you know, really coming into its own. It was at its height. It had made Clive Barker a star, and when you would get your issues of Fangoria, you would see these terrific photographs of all of these creatures and all of these terrific images. And then you would go to see the film, and either you would see it for a split second or it wasn't there at all. And that was the case with the theatrical version of Nightbreed. When we went to see it in the theater, you know, when I was a young man, well, you know, certain things were it just felt like stuff was missing. So when the Cabal cut came out, you know, I got my hands on it instantly, and it's one of those cases where the additional footage makes a movie so much better.
Yeah, and Danny Elfman, you know, he was still with Oingo Boingo, and he made this such a fucking incredible original soundtrack to it, and he even had songs from the Dark End of the Tunnel, the last album that he did with Oingo Boingo. He actually had some songs in that movie, such as Skin, and it's you get more Danny Elfman composition. And that was at like the peak of, or not, that was like the beginning of like the Danny Elfman rise, because Danny Elfman's first, you know, big thing was Pee Wee Herman's the Pee Wee Herman movie.
Oh yeah, with
Pee Wee's Big Adventure.
Pee Wee's Big Adventure, and that was his big, you know, first movie, and then him and Tim Burton teamed up for Beetlejuice and Batman, and then that's you know, it kind of like, you know, embarked Danny Elfman's career. But Danny Elfman did a side project with Clive Barker for Nightbreed, and the soundtrack is just fucking awesome. It's a shame that everything was cut down when they released it theatrically, even though a lot of horror fans out there say that they prefer the theatrical version of Nightbreed over the Cabal cut. It all depends on preference. Maybe just people didn't like the Cabal cut, but in my opinion, the director's cut, it shows it just that 45 minutes. It's a completely different movie. You have sympathy for the monsters, and you know, just like King Kong, you grow up and you see these monsters as villains when you look at them at first sight, and then you get to know these monsters, and then you feel for them. And that's the Cabal cut of Nightbreed strongly showed that.
It kind of turns what you think about monsters on its head. You know, it takes you know, it takes what you think and what you believe to be a villain, a monster, and just twists that logic, and it does it brilliantly.
Yeah, and then, you know, Clive Barker had movies such as Rawhead Rex, which is also another personal favorite of mine, which is night and day. Rawhead Rex. It's one of a kind. It's one of a kind.
His name is Rawhead.
It is totally one of a kind.
Let me just tell you, those who have not seen Rawhead Rex, I believe the first 10 minutes is storyline, and the rest of the movie,
now, folks, and go get this movie.
And the rest of the movie, it's getting a Blu-ray release. The rest of Rawhead Rex is, well, Rawhead Rex is like this. I can't describe. He looks like a Cenobite with like the body type, wearing an all leather suit, and then he's got like this lion monkey head that never moves or blinks. And the entire movie, he just chases after people like full force, like Nemesis from Resident Evil, just chases after them and like flips them over. He's like a giant version of Shakma, and he's just tearing it apart. And that's the entire rest of the movie, is he's chasing after everybody, and he's banging on shit, and he's flipping shit. Hey, it's hilarious.
Peeing on people. It's a really fucked up movie. It really is.
And wait for the Blu-ray release, because the DVD's out of print and impossible to find.
Yeah, it's a big farm. There's a big farm, and there's all this flat land, and then there's this huge rock just sitting there in the middle of this enormous flat empty field. There's just this big goddamn boulder, and the farmer comes along, throws a chain around it, pulls the rock out of the ground, and bang! There comes Rawhead Rex out of the ground. This face, he never changes expression. Yes, it's glorious. It truly is a glorious moment.
but yeah,
and I did read the story. I did read the story, and it's actually very faithful to the story.
Should we add that to the list of top 500?
Oh God, yes.
Rawhead Rex.
Yes. Rawhead Rex. Yeah, you definitely have
500, maybe. Yeah, you could squeeze it in.
I think you could squeeze in over Halloween 5, maybe.
Oh, it's way better than Halloween 5.
We're getting some good comments on Facebook, guys. We have Brandon who brought up Pumpkinhead. Pumpkinhead's one of my favorite creature features of all time.
Yes, let's get to our Facebook comments. Ray.
Yeah, do we know Brandon? Who's anybody's Facebook friend with Brandon? Well, he brought up Pumpkinhead, and that is hands down easily one of my favorite creature features of all time. Besides the Fly and a few others, there's a creature of revenge. There's a really, really wonderful story. Again, Stan Winston visual effects. Kids, if you haven't seen Pumpkinhead, Pumpkinhead has one of my favorite elements, which is witchcraft. I love witches. Some of my favorite films feature witches, and Haggis in Pumpkinhead, the witch in that movie, is just another reason to love the film. And again, here we have a creature acting on instinct, with Haggis being also the villain. The villain of the piece. So a creature and its maker. It's a wonderful movie. So thank you for the suggestion. I totally forgot to bring up Pumpkinhead.
We said the Blob also.
Yeah, the Blob. I saw the Blob again as a kid, and the remake of the Blob I consider to be one of the best remakes out there. If you're gonna look at remakes and who hit the mark and who missed, well, I'll tell you, boy, the remake of the Blob that was with Matt Dillon.
Yeah,
Matt Dillon or Kevin Dillon.
Yeah,
Kevin Dillon. Forgive me, Kevin. My apologies to the Dillon brothers.
The less accomplished Dillon brother.
Yes, but another really, now if you look at the Steve McQueen film from the 50s, it was done at a time when we were worried about the fear of communism. And if you look at the remake of The Blob, it was at the time when we were worried about the spread of AIDS and very much, and the government involvement with the creature. There's an element in the remake that really isn't there in the original film, where we discover that it's possible that the U.S. government was responsible for the creature. Mm-hmm. So, which was a conspiracy theory of the time. So again, we're holding a mirror to society and telling the story, telling the headlines using monsters as a way to exercise and get those feelings and thoughts out and begin to have discussions about these sort of topics.
Yeah, the first Blob was trash.
Oh, you don't like the first Blob? What about Son of Blob? Larry Hagman. You guys remember Larry Hagman from I Dream of Jeannie? He directed Son of Blob.
Yeah.
When he was going through his hippie phase. You ever see Son of Blob?
I have never seen Son of Blob, but the Blob was total trash. I watched it on a rainy day. It's probably one of those movies you had to be there to see it. When it first came out. But Steve McQueen, this is before he was like bad boy heartthrob. He was like
it was his first film.
It's funny though because he was 30 and he was playing a teenager. Right?
Yeah. Well, Well, it was this really weird seeing Steve McQueen playing like a preppy type role, because I'm so used to Steve McQueen as fucking The Getaway and Bullet, and it's like seeing Steve McQueen as like this preppy heartthrob, like making phone calls. That's all he's doing in the fucking movie is making phone calls. It's like no, he doesn't do anything else. And the Blob finally comes out at the very end in the theater, and it's like, oh, cool, the Blob. I don't know. That's my opinion. But the '80s Blob was very good. I think Frank Darabont had a piece in making that movie because he had his cronies
It's
in that
terrific.
movie. Yeah. But
I like
thing
both versions.
about the remake. Sorry, I was just gonna say it set it up a sequel and we never got it.
mhm.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's
the
what it
ending
is,
is
you know.
terrific.
But as we get it closer to the Razor's Burn segment, which is coming up very shortly, I want to ask the people at the Syndicate, our team here at the Syndicate, is there any final thoughts on creature features before we get to our questions?
Well, did we hear from Jared?
Yeah, I piggybacked on the Monster Squad segment. That was the main one that really got me going on the monsters creature features. So I'm good to move on.
Also, wait, whenever y'all were talking, whenever Brian was talking about when you mentioned Tim Burton and then feeling sympathy for monsters, I thought about Edward Scissorhands. So love that movie.
Do you know that there's a porno called Edward Penis Hands, and he has penises for hands? I'm
No,
dead
I did not know
serious.
that, and I didn't need to know that.
I think
need to know that.
no,
Please send your
everyone
cards and
needs.
letters to Brian.
Everyone needs to know this. It's
at
a
the Heart
movie.
of Jew.
No, here's the cool thing about these terrible porno movies is that you can watch them without the sex scenes on YouTube, and they're just as funny. They are.
Oh,
They're
God.
just as everything you imagine. I think they're, I really they have porno without the sex on YouTube, and it's everything you would ever expect in a really bad B movie.
So it's
The
wonderful
music's
corny
awesome.
dialogue.
Did you see the reboot of Edward Penis Hands?
No, I have not.
It's not a porno though. It's called Edward Harambe Hands.
Oh, oh, poor Edward Harambe.
Those are large
His
hands.
life was going so good until that child fell into the enclosure. I get
Those
it.
are
I get it.
large hands.
I don't know that you guys have mentioned Harambe, and it's like a running gag through every episode. So I wanted to make sure I threw that in there.
Because
Yeah.
a day without Harambe is a day without sunshine.
Well,
Brian, you need to go into all of our episodes and get the clips of mentioning Harambe and just edit them into one for the
We
Horror
may have
Syndicate
another
talking
show.
about Harambe video.
oh my God, Morgan, you might as well just hand me the gun with the bullet, okay? So I could just shoot myself in the fucking head.
Okay, no problem. I'll be over next week.
Let me get my camera. Just let me get my camera. Hold on. Let me get my camera, and then we'll be good to go.
Let's turn it. Let's turn into a snuff film. Let's turn into a snuff film, everybody. It'll be Brian Enright and the human guinea pig, right? American
Yes.
guinea pig, American Brian.
No problem.
Okay,
So,
blood and guts.
American Harambe.
One more from Brandon here on Facebook. The Stuart Gordon's From Beyond. Stuart Gordon made excellent creature movies.
Oh yeah.
From Beyond's wonderful.
Yeah.
And he League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. Okay.
But to segue
right.
from Beyond, James Gunn with Slither did a really good job because he definitely used From Beyond as an idea for that. Totally.
Well, what about Night of the Creeps?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Night of the Creeps and Slither are very similar. And I didn't see Night of the Creeps. I saw it when I was way younger, forgot all about it. And then I watched Halloween 3 and saw Tom Atkins, and I'm like, what else is he in? I saw Night of the Creeps on his list. I'm like, I got to see that. And guess what? It thrilled me.
Yeah.
So,
he has all the best lines in it.
but the thing is, I saw it years ago, of course, forgot all about it. But I saw Slither, and I'm like, this is just like Slither, very similar to Slither, in different ways. But the thing is, I always wanted to know if James Gunn took inspiration from that, and he said no.
Yep.
Huh.
Yeah, he I forget what it was. I think it was Slugs. I think that was the movie he took
What
inspiration
about
from.
what about Society? I could see Society also.
Oh, Society's
Society.
a weird movie.
That is a weird fucking
Yeah,
movie.
Brian Yesna. Yeah.
That's
What?
a nice
Yeah.
movie. The kind you show to your family to get them out of the house.
Yeah, that clear a room. That'll
I
definitely
kind of
clear
I kind of I kind of imagine the parties that they have in the movie Society are the same exact parties our political leaders in this country have
All
during
the
the
fucking
weekends.
pineapples.
All
Yeah,
the pineapples with Trump.
where they all like just melt together and suck each other's buttholes. Like I don't know, like maybe that's something they do. I like to imagine, and that's not just saying the people who run this
Sit on
country.
pineapple
That
burn.
goes after all the rich, people who are just up their own ass.
And,
You know,
and we wish you would stop imagining, Brian. Really, it's
Yeah, well, if Harambe was alive, it would be
Yes.
murders at the Rue Morgue. We just send Harambe down the chimney like Santa Claus. So that would be the ideal thing.
with an axe.
With a banana, and but we're gonna get into the Razor Burns questions. You can join us at the Facebook below in the comments. But we're gonna have Baron take it away. We're going to have Razor Burns questions, and you can get involved. And these are questions for everybody, not just here at the Syndicate. So, Baron, it's all you.
All right, so basically we're going to start here. These questions are pretty much nutty because I did the most when I was drunk. So here we go. What are your opinions of the new Mummy movie based off the trailer? And would you show it to any friends if they were curious? Let's go with Brian.
Oh, my God. First off, oh, my God. Fuck this movie. No one deserves to see it. Fuck this movie. Brendan Fraser is rolling over in his grave.
Okay, Jared.
I don't think he's dead.
He's not dead.
He is dead.
He's alive.
The
he's
movie
rolling
killed
over.
him.
so
No,
dead.
let's not.
He
let's-
may be dead inside, but he's not dead.
He's young.
I think he got better.
Go better.
All right, Jared.
Encino Man 2.
Yeah,
I'd watch it.
nice. I saw the latest preview on Hulu of all places, and it actually is a good preview, but it's not going to entice me to go see it in the theater. I will not endorse anything Tom Cruise does openly. I mean,
Same.
But privately,
privately, I may watch it when it comes out on DVD.
Yeah.
I don't have high hopes for it at all. It looks like Mission Impossible, but the good thing is that the girl that plays the mummy, she kind of looks kind of scary. So that might draw some people to the theater. But yeah,
Cool
I'm not
thing,
gonna go
man.
see it.
So
A
you're
knife
saying
leg.
this?
What, Brian?
Go ahead, Ray. You're saying the $750 bin at Walmart, not the $5 bin.
Yeah,
Well,
I might
Blu-ray's
go see it at the Dollar Theater
The Dollar Theater, where it comes with 15 additional horror movies.
and sticky seats,
Yeah.
sticky seats and stale popcorn.
I don't think they'd put that in the horror movie one. That'd be in the sci-fi.
It's in a package collection of Amityville Exorcism and Three-Headed Shark Attack.
hey now, that's where you get them sticky seats from.
Okay, Morgan.
Yeah, with everybody else, doesn't look very good, and I like Jared said, I'm not a fan of Tom Cruise. So
All right, Rayzilla.
Well, gang, I think that we're seeing quite possibly another World War Z, quite possibly another Roland Emmerich Godzilla here, where they're trying to, boot something as a tentpole event. They're trying to create something as a big event, a major tentpole event, and they're missing the tone completely. Roland Emmerich's Godzilla missed the tone. It was completely off. Even the Brendan Fraser Mummy film, for me, and I think I brought this up in another in another episode. That movie, the tone missed it for me as well. It was a comedy, the Brendan Fraser Mummy
Action
film.
comedy.
Action comedy.
But every single character has a one-liner. They all have to be funny, and it simply bounced me out of the movie. The Mummy has to be a horror film. It has to be a scary film, and I think that again, Universal has missed the point with the source and not being faithful to the source material, and turning it into this sort of actiony Tom Cruise vehicle. I think it's a mistake. Whether it damages the entire cinematic universe for them or not, I don't know. But if it bombs pretty severely, I think we're gonna, like I said earlier in the show, we're gonna see the bickering and backstabbing going on behind the scenes, studio infighting and such. If the movie bombs, because it wasn't, I don't know what the budget was, but it wasn't cheap. And it just doesn't look like it looks like the tone is completely off.
Okay, Razor.
I've seen a couple trailers, a couple commercials. It's not something I would. Okay, so I have a story about The Dark Knight, the Batman movie. I'm a huge Batman fan, and I got really amped up about that movie. I was terribly disappointed with the final product. So I can't go too far off of trailers anymore, because there's times that I see a trailer and I think it looks like a garbage and I end up liking it. And then there's other times that I think it looks like garbage and it is garbage. But there's other times I think it's good, looks good. And so I can't base anything off trailers. I will watch it. I will not watch it in the theater. And I won't recommend it to anybody because I haven't seen it. You can't recommend a movie to somebody if you've never seen it.
Mm-hmm.
You can, but that doesn't make sense. So I'll see it eventually. I do like the Brendan Fraser movie, but I want to know who writes this stuff and how come they can't make The Mummy a horror movie. What in the fuck is the problem?
Right.
I mean, you got the 1932 classic, Universal classic, and Universal is making these movies. Why in the hell can you not make it horror?
Yeah,
I don't understand. It's based off of a horror film, but you make an action comedy, and then you're making a Tom Cruise action movie. I don't understand it, and I'll see it eventually.
It seems fairly academic to me. I don't know. I don't. I am as bewildered as you are.
Mummy horror movie, and it would be better than whatever they're putting out now. That's how I feel about it. But still, I'm going to see it, then I'll judge it.
Okay. And as for my viewpoint on it, it's well, first of all, this is a $125 million film. So hopefully it goes the same way as Van Helsing of 2004 went, because that was the first time Universal wanted to really kind of reboot the entire monster movies back then, and it bombed at the box office, and then they just shut up about the whole thing, and they didn't go that route anymore. From what I can tell from this trailer, this is the kind of film that you want to torture people with. And when I talk usually about studio execs and probably anybody who's a terrorist-minded freaking fool out there, you just take some nice, honey, slap her on the genitals, and let the fire ants go at them. I mean, that's this kind of fucking trailer. That is just what I'm thinking this movie is.
So it's gonna
total crap, and one day will be on the DOA hit list for me to review. So that's what it's going to be.
So it's going to play well in Guantanamo Bay, basically.
Yes, it's that kind of movie. I'll tell you anything you want to know. Just stop the damn movie. So there you go.
There you go.
All right. There's been a lot of talk about another film called Suspiria. I'd like to get everybody's Suspiria. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'd like to get everybody's viewpoint on it.
Tonight.
So Morgan, you're up first.
Oh Lord. Okay. Well, I heard a while ago that it's more of a kind of, I don't know. I heard that it's not really a remake say, but yeah. So I don't know how I feel about that, but I kind of wish that Lily Collins was cast to play what's her name, Susie Bannon, instead of however they're doing it, because I don't know, I just think she would be good.
Isn't Lily Collins a little too old to do that? Susie Bannon, she's really young.
I don't think so. I don't think so. I mean, Lily Collins is still being cast in like young roles. She's I don't know how old she is.
She's like
Probably
35.
late 20. She's not
Or no.
30 something.
Let me look. She's in True Blood
I don't know.
in the first season almost 10 years ago.
For what?
She was in True Blood the first season.
She was?
Oh, this is a different actress.
Who is Lily Collins? I don't even know who that is.
Lily Collins. Okay. Oh my gosh. Okay. She was in The Blind Side, some other stuff. She's Phil Collins'
How do you
daughter.
guys not know this?
But anyway.
Yeah, this is Phil Collins' daughter, correct?
In the air tonight.
Christ, I had no idea. There's another Lily Collins, I swear.
Studio.
Okay, yeah, you're right. She's 26 years old.
Do you like Huey Lewis in the news?
Yeah. Doesn't she look like she would be a good?
Yeah, she does. You're right, Morgan. Totally. You're
just
totally
heard
right.
the
I agree.
news.
I know she would be great, but yeah. Anyway,
Because she looks like
we'll never know.
She
Yeah,
does look
to
like
me,
it,
she
but
does.
I was going to say the girl that was
And
in
I like her as an actress.
House of the Devil would have been good too, but I think she's too old.
Oh yeah,
I can't think of her name, but I thought she was fantastic.
I haven't seen her, but based on just looks, yeah, I could see that too.
Yeah.
Pretty much is open forum. Anybody else want to jump in on this one? Ray Zoam, you always like to talk about these kind of films.
Repeat the question again.
What are your thoughts on the this reboot, remake, whatever the hell they're coming up with? I mean, what's your particular mindset on it?
Spirit.
Oh dear Lord, fuck no, please.
I felt that was coming.
Now, please give it to us honestly.
Yeah. Well, look, guys. You guys know that this is kind of sacred territory for me. Suspiria is
Oh yeah.
For me, the yardstick by which a lot of horror films are measured. So to remake it and reboot it, let's see. I mean, if they can make a scary movie, bravo to them. But Suspiria will always be, the movie that I know, and the movie that I enjoy. I'm not a huge fan of reboots. I'm not a huge fan of remakes. But I have been proven wrong in the past, and I always do wish that I'm proven wrong. I want to see a well done remake, a remake done with a twist, a remake that is at least enjoyable, that doesn't look down to the audience. And I have hopes for that with this particular movie, but this one is a little close to home because it's one of my favorite horror films of all time. So I just wish they wouldn't touch it.
Okay.
What I would say about that, what I would like to have seen done is maybe the resurrection of the three mothers, and maybe Suspiria could be not a remake, but a long-awaited sequel, and because they're witches, right? Maybe
That would be cool.
Why couldn't a witch be resurrected and a whole new class? They're reopening something like that instead of a fucking remake. I think they need to be more creative and do something like. Well, I think that would be interesting. Where a mother Suspirian or something. How do you say it? Isn't that
Suspiria?
Yeah, maybe that they're trying to resurrect her and they bring her back. I don't know. That was my thought. So when they make remakes anymore, or when I hear that one's being made, I like to try to think outside the box. Like I heard they're making Police Academy. Like, what the fuck? Why would you need to remake that when you could just grab some of the old cast and just make a part 9 just 25 years later or whatever it is? I don't understand all this reboot shit.
That's a good
Because
point.
they could have Zac Efron play in it.
Yeah.
The Rock.
Rock and Zac
No,
Efron and
Jesus
Steve Guttenberg.
Christ.
I
But
think
like,
it would be more fun to
Suspiria
see Steve Guttenberg in the original cast than it would be
Fuck
to see
yeah.
a reboot.
Brian,
Yeah.
Brian, he could play Commandant Lestar. Brian said something the other day about he's worried about the score. I'm 100%.
Yeah.
Oh,
When I
yeah.
went in and saw Superman Returns, there was no word that the John Williams score was going to be in it, and I was nervous. And they played it, so I was happy. But Suspiria has one of the most recognizable horror scores, and it's one of the most
Good point.
engulfing psychedelic type scores to me. There's nothing like it. And if you don't have something similar to that, or at least try to use some of that, it's not going to work for me. So
Well, I know that Radiohead will be doing this score, so they'll probably be like, "I'm a witch, I like flying." There's I don't
I
know.
like
Yeah,
Radiohead.
Actually, I'm not a big Radiohead fan, so
well, neither are they.
that was a bit of a turnoff for me. I can't take the
Wow.
whiny vocals.
There's
So that was
there's one song that they did for the Romeo and Juliet soundtrack that I really like, and there's a few other ones that aren't so bad.
Oh, what was who directed that? Baz Luhrmann or something like that. The
I don't
Romeo
like
and
the
Juliet
movie.
movie
That movie's garbage.
with Leonardo. That was a pretty good movie. Yeah, I had no problem with that movie. That movie was pretty cool.
I didn't like
It
it.
was hilarious. It's hilarious.
I think Goblin's score for Suspiria, it predates Halloween, yet I think it really heralded the era of that synth pop, synth rock type of movie score.
Yeah,
Do me a
very
favor.
psychedelic.
Anybody who's a fan of Suspiria or watch it, just go back and watch. Just turn it on and put it on the Blu-ray player, and the music just hits you immediately.
Yeah,
I cannot play that movie in the house because my wife won't listen to the soundtrack. I can't if I have to play the movie, and I watch it. When I watch the movie in the house,
You'll sit in the car.
she knows right away. She's like, "You got to turn the volume down on that thing because the music completely freaks her out. If the imagery doesn't flip you out, the soundtrack will to Suspiria."
Yeah,
And
no,
I have it in
Elizabeth
a
was the
few
same.
different forms
So.
too. But it's that's kind of holy. That's kind of sacred ground for me. I wish they wouldn't do this, but who knows?
yeah.
Okay. Our fourth question actually comes from someone who listens to our show and actually listens to mine also. His name is Vincent. His question is basically, are we, as fans of horror, unwilling to accept new creations of these movies that are cherished to us? I'm asking the question to our group here, and I will go first to kind of give you a volley for this because I read the full email. He basically is saying, look, you like the Frankenstein from 1931, but then here comes Hammer Studios along and they do another version of Frankenstein or Mummy or Dracula, and you like those films. So are you being hypocritical in your standpoint for not liking remakes? Rayzilla, you're up.
Since I'm the most vocal about not liking remakes, maybe I should go first.
I don't consider remakes.
It's not as black and white as that. Each film has to stand on its own. So just because you enjoy one, just because The Fly is a sensational remake doesn't automatically mean that you have to enjoy all other remakes. There are still ones that miss the mark completely, like the Roland Emmerich Godzilla film. And I think it's because I would rather see something original than a remake of something, than a reboot of something. There are plenty of wonderful original stories out there that could be told, as opposed to as opposed to doing a remake. That said, Suspiria is an interesting choice. It's a bold choice to remake something. It's not exactly a household name. It's not exactly a household property like Friday the 13th or Nightmare on Elm Street or a Hellraiser reboot would be. But no, I think that every single film, whether prequel, sequel, remake, reboot, reimagining, however you want to phrase it, all of these movies stand on their own at the end of the day, and that's the way that they need to be judged.
Okay, Jarrett.
What was the question again?
Basically, one of our listeners wants to know if we're being hypocritical in our stance not to accept the new creations of films. Again, using Frankenstein, The Mummy, these kind of films that then are redone by, say, Hammer Studios.
As a generalization, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think we're being necessarily hypocritical, but we're just being critical in general from the source material.
Mm-hmm.
We really like the original stuff, and we don't like things getting played with.
Mhm.
So I don't think that makes us hypocritical, but it definitely makes us, and it gives us a reason to be defensive when they try to touch something that we love.
Here,
Okay.
here.
Mhm.
Again, you know, we get a question in from our listeners and viewers out there. We do like to ask questions, and again, this was sent to me, so hence the question. And I disagree with Vincent's standpoint there. I think you know, we have to judge the films individually. Brian, what's your thought?
Okay, so basically, I'm open for anything. I'm the guy who's open for whatever is thrown at me. You know, I may be judgmental, but that's my right as a horror fan. When I see a movie such as the Mummy trailer come out, all right, so let's just take this back. We had 2 trailers come out this year, right? We had the It trailer and we had the Mummy trailer. Both are very relative in what they represent. The It trailer, of course, it was a TV movie for ABC when it came out. The Mummy, of course, it was a Universal movie, and then it was an action comedy, which was a very good movie with Brendan Fraser, but it wasn't horror, which is what Ray Cannella was saying. You have both these trailers come out. The one made me cry with tears of joy, and the other one made me so angry.
That much?
Yeah, right.
Sorry.
And it made me angry. It made me Mummy made me angry when I saw it, because it was, not only was it just this tidal wave of CGI.
Mummy in my phone.
Of it was just it was Tom Cruise, you know, which was, you know, automatic, like, oh shit, what's he gonna do? You know, that's my first.
No, that,
my
hey,
first
right there,
reaction.
Brian. That destroys the entire credibility of the whole movie. Tom Cruise being in it.
Yeah.
I'm not
And
against Tom Cruise, but I think that right there takes everything away from that movie.
I would not argue that.
That's the thing. And then we see the rest of this trailer. And they played like 3 different fucking trailers. I think they played the first one at the Super Bowl, and then they played 2 others as they come towards the release. But it's just this CGI crap fest, and I get it that it's big budget, and I get that they want to revive the Universal monster movies, but why not let the people who appreciate the horror, who why do we have to go CGI all the time? Why can we not bring practical effects? We have movie theater tickets that are more expensive, and we don't even have the same amount of people working on the movie. All this money is going towards the actors and the producers, when in fact, when movies were filmed, you had a larger crew working on these movies, and that's why you had a higher ticket price. But now everything is digital, and the ticket prices are out of this world, and no one wants to go see a movie anywhere because they prefer being in the comfort of their home, at their own homes, and they get to see independent movies such as The Void, which came out early this year, which was a phenomenal fucking
Thank
movie.
you for mentioning that. Thank you for mentioning.
Oh, you're
that.
welcome. But
that proves that practical effects can still live in horror.
Yes. Yes, and it's the fact that you have all this money, you have Tom Cruise, and you make this CGI Mummy movie, and you're trying to force feed this content down our throat. And with all that money, you could be making one of the greatest looking, you know, not even if they use a little bit of practical effects. I may be running on my own words here, and you know, CGI and practical effects worked for Jurassic Park. Okay, let's say that it worked for Jurassic Park because that was the beginning of CGI, but now CGI is taking over, and I get that there's a lot more in demand for digital artists who make the movie, but it's a horror film, and as a horror fan, and in this growing community of horror fans, I would love to see something more along the lines of practical effects and get rid of Tom Cruise. Like, I can't stand him. It's like every movie he touches, you know, it's going to be like this, you know, this Snorefest. I mean, look at the last Mission Impossible movies, and you know, I just, maybe they were good for some of you, but they weren't great. You know, it's just another Tom Cruise movie that's force-fed down our throats. And it's the same thing with hold on, and it's the same thing with World War Z. It's this crap fest, this CGI crap fest, force-fed to the viewers because the studio thinks that's what the consumers want.
Yep.
I have a theory about this dark universe that Universal's doing. and it has to do with the DC and Marvel movies. I wonder if they're trying to make them action to keep up with and to make the money that these movies are making. I mean, the Marvel movies are making $1 billion, a movie just about, and then the DCs are making 600 to 800 million. Who knows what Wonder Woman's going to do? And I wonder if they're using the shared universe to try to get people interested into these monsters by making them action movies. Because that Dracula and movie, pretty
and
much
by casting big names too,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I
I think you get a point there.
not horror actors.
I think that, along what you're saying, Ray, I don't think, I agree with you. I don't think that big budget movies have found their niche yet. And the thing that worked so well for horror nowadays is Stranger Things and It. And they play off of each other because it's very retro to what we grew up with and what we know. And I don't think that Hollywood has found its niche yet with the new generation of viewers and making these over-the-top action movies. I think that they need to start listening more to the public and not what goes on behind closed doors.
They could have taken $30 million and made an actual horror movie out of The Mummy and probably made a lot of money doing that. I mean, you see movies like Insidious, that those movies make a lot of money in the theater. They're made for like maybe what $15-20 million. They make almost $100 million in the theater. That's a huge profit, and they don't cast people like some of them are getting well known now, but like they weren't casting the huge stars, Lily Taylor in The Conjuring, she's been in a few things, but she's not an A-lister. Neither is the guy from Office Space. I don't even know his damn name. In The Conjuring, and Patrick Wilson. Yeah, I love him, but he's not he's becoming a household name now. But before Insidious, the only thing I remember seeing him in was The Watchmen.
He was in the Phantom of the Opera.
Right.
Yeah, he was a Broadway star before he became
He was Raoul.
Universal should look at this and say, well, the roots with Dracula, Frankenstein, The Mummy, all of these, they're rooted in horror. Horror is always been closer to low budget than big budget movies, and in no fucking way are they action movies ever, not even close. Except for Resident Evil, and that always worked, right? Resident Evil worked. That's probably why they did it, because fucking Resident Evil makes a lot of money.
Yeah,
and the Underworld films do well,
and they're not horror movies to me. They have horror elements maybe, but they're not horror movies. Horror movies to me are movies meant to play with your mind and scare you. Not
Hi, Lainey.
Yeah. That's why I don't think Predators is a horror movie.
Okay.
Well, you know what? Not to disagree with you, Brian, but I don't think it's so much that the studio. I don't think that it's so much that the studio has to listen to the audience, but that the studio simply needs to go back to the source material and show respect for the source material.
Yeah.
And they had a cinematic universe back in the 1930s and the 1940s and into the 50s. They had, before we had the phrase cinematic universe, Universal Studios had actually achieved it. And I think that all they need do is show respect to the source material and even try and recall their own history. They weren't known as the Monster Factory. Follow that formula and you can't go wrong. Marvel is showing respect to the source material, and that's why the films work.
Kinda.
DC is showing respect to the source material. We're seeing things that were happening in the books come to life on the screen, and Universal is again, they've taken the wrong tone with this movie. Yeah. There's a lot riding on this. If this movie bombs,
some of the premiere reviews are out already, and it doesn't look good. A lot of people. One review, like I said earlier in the show, one review said it looks so bad it's good, it's so bad it's good, and then the other review said it was just plain awful. So
Okay.
I don't know.
Oh, wait. Okay, real quick before we go on to the next question. Yeah, I just agree with what y'all said. I think they should be judged on just them individually in one remake in particular that I think has been judged way too much based on the original, which I love this remake and everybody else hates it, is A Nightmare on Elm Street. And I talked about that and I wrote a review for it for the
Mute her.
ABCs of Horror in the fall. But yeah. Okay, you can move on, Baron.
Okay. Jared, did you want to add anything in?
No, I think I'm good.
Okay. Our last question comes from Rayzilla, actually. It is Godzilla to destroy a city. Which city would it be and why? So basically, if you were maybe making a movie or you could control Godzilla, what city would you send him to?
Well, if you got Godzilla's email address, and you can ask him to demolish a city, which city would it be and why?
All right, now let everybody get a moment for it. All right, Jared, you're up.
Washington, D.C.
And why? What your reason why?
Preferably the White House.
Do you have to ask
Preferably
why,
the
Baron?
White House. Preferably the White House.
Okay, Razor.
The city in Rampage.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't really have any beef with any other cities. I mean, let's see where the Cardinals playing. Cincinnati. There we go.
Chicago.
No, I like Chicago as a city.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay,
Wherever ISIS is.
Brian.
Yeah. Hey.
Hey, sorry. Those who are viewing right now, I do apologize for inconvenience. We were cut off, but we are now back on.
Oh no.
Oh,
It's okay. It's okay. Everything is worked out. We are back and we are live.
okay.
Now my question, it was for me. Godzilla to destroy a city. Which would it be and why? I think that since Jared already answered the $1 million question correctly with Washington, I would have to say 1980s Miami. Because I would love for Godzilla to be wandering around the streets, listening to the Live and Die in LA soundtrack and just crushing nightclubs. I think that it would be intense. I'm a huge fan of synthwave and the 80s pop culture. And if Godzilla could do that for me while I'm riding on his back, that would be great.
With the white jacket on with the sleeves rolled up.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, holding a boombox.
There you go.
Not me holding the boombox, because Godzilla wouldn't be able to hold the boombox with his tiny little dinosaur arms.
His arms couldn't go up that high.
They wouldn't. He would just hold it like a platter, like this. He wouldn't make any sense.
All right. Rayzilla.
You know what? I would have to say Fairlawn, New Jersey, and those people know fucking why. So
He's got beef.
that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Fairlawn, New Jersey. Look out.
Fuck
God
you,
damn it.
Fair Long, New Jersey.
God damn it.
Morgan. Did you get the question? Or do you need to
Yeah.
repeat it?
Yeah, I got it. What city would I have Godzilla destroy? Well, I don't really dislike any cities, I don't think, but let's go with Gotham. I don't know.
Gotham?
Why?
Yeah,
Fight Batman.
I don't know. That's just what popped into my head. And
Okay.
all of his villains team up and fight Godzilla because they're destroying Gotham. He's destroying Gotham.
All right. So, and I will chime in on this one. The city to destroy, simple. Let's go for good old Hollywood, where all the execs make stupid decisions for movies, so that way Godzilla can destroy Hollywood first, and then walk on over to Raccoon City to make Brian happy. Really enjoy of that all. So that wraps up the Razor Burn questions. I think we got it all settled there. And back to you, Brian.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Brian. I really do appreciate it. Before we close out, before we close out with our live episode tonight, Morgan's got some convention news for you. Morgan, what do we got going on?
Okay, well, this weekend there are 4 conventions happening, and is Sinister Creature Con in Stockton, California.
Nice.
And a few of their featured guests are Catherine Isabel from American Mary, along with the Soska sisters who created the movie, and Heather Langenkamp, and many, many more. So that's in California. And then another one happening this weekend is the Midwest Haunters Convention, and their website says that it is the largest Halloween show of its kind in the U.S., serving haunted attraction industry professionals and enthusiasts. The MHC features a trade show, education, chartered bus tours, and entertainment at the Greater Columbus Convention Center in Hyatt Regency, Columbus. So that takes place in Columbus, Ohio.
Sweet.
So, and they don't have any guests, but like I said, they have some cool events going on, like a masquerade costume party, costume contest, things like that. And with very good timing, because it is the Night of the Living Dead 50th anniversary coming up or something like that, and another convention that happens to be happening this weekend is the Living Dead Weekend in Monroeville, Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
And it takes place
Holla.
at the Monroeville Mall where Dawn of the Dead took place, and they're having several Dawn of the Dead stars there, such as the main people, Ken Foree, Scott Rain, and Tom Savini, and many, many more, as well as because they are partnering with Steel City Con, so they also have a handful of guests that are not connected to the Living Dead movies, such as Linda Blair, Cassandra Peterson, and Scott Wilson.
Cool.
Sounds like fun.
I'd love to visit that mall before they tear it down.
Yep, and they're also having photo ops with the cast in the actual locations from the movie, so that will be cool. And the last convention that's happening this weekend is the Calgary Horror Con in Calgary, in Canada. And some of their guests include Doug Bradley, Ashley Lawrence, and Lloyd Kaufman.
Ooh.
Okay. Awesome stuff here.
And I didn't really get to talk about it because we took a break from our podcast, but I did go to Texas Frightmare at the beginning of the month, and they have already officially set their date for next year. Is May 6th to the 8th, I believe.
4th through 6th.
Start planning 4th through 6th, whatever, close enough. So you can start planning your trip for Texas Frightmare 2018 now.
Jared, we going or what?
I think
Jared,
I am a soft yes at this point.
Yeah.
Soft like my pin 15 right now. Okay. Good land. Also, when they announced the date, they had a teaser image of the Night of the Living Dead house for Texas Frightmare, which I got pretty excited because next year is the 50th anniversary of Night of the Living Dead and the 40th of Dawn of the Dead, so it could be kind of a big deal. So we're going, Jared. We'll see Morgan and our buddy Rob Martinez.
Okay.
Yeah. And you might see a horror Jew there too.
Let's do it.
We're already planning on it.
Yes.
Get a table.
Everybody come down to me.
All right, so all right, so thank you very much for watching our show tonight. Thank you very much for supporting the Horror Syndicate. Those who have ordered their shirts, the shirts will be in very shortly. So thank you very much for donating and supporting us here at the Horror Syndicate. And you'll be getting your awesome Horror Syndicate personalized shirts very, very soon. So thank you for watching the show tonight. My name is Brian Enright. You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram at The Horror Jew, or you can follow me on Facebook at Brian Enright. Up next, we have Baron Craze. Baron, where can we find you?
Oh, at cemeteries and morgues throughout the land. And, of course, you can stalk me on Twitter under Baron_Craze, and also on Facebook under Baron Craze and the Baron's Crypt. Back to you, Brian.
Thank you very much, Baron. Up next, we have Jared Letourneau. Jared, where can we find you?
You guys can find me at Jared Letourneau on Facebook, or if you want to follow me on the Twitterverse, zombie_survivor. And thank you to BG and Lanybug for watching us tonight. Have a good night, y'all.
Thank you very much, Jared. Up next, we have Morgan. Morgan, where can we find you?
You can find me at Texas Frightmare 2018. But before that, you can find me on Twitter at Morgan_Jewel_S.
All right. Thank you very much, Morgan. Up next, Sci-Fi's own Uncle Rayzilla. Uncle Rayzilla, where can we find you?
Well, you know, Brian, you can find me most Tuesday nights performing free spay and neutering procedures on basically anything with 4 legs, and that's down at St. Mickey's Knights of Columbus, located here in Lodi, New Jersey. If you would like to look at my stupid Facebook page, you can follow me. You could pick me up at Ray Canella, 2 N's, 2 L's, and 1 gun. And if you would like to follow me on Twitter, you can follow me at RayzillaNJ. Back to you, Brian.
Thank you very much, Uncle Rayzilla. And last but not least, our president and Fuhrer, Razor. Where can we find you?
You can find me at Razor_33 on Twitter. You can also find me on Facebook. Rage of Razor is the page that I don't pay attention to. Just want to remind everybody, and I'll do it again next week, you can find me at MightyCon in St. Charles near St. Louis on June 17th and 18th, pushing my comic book on people and trying to pose pictures with people who don't want me to be in pictures with them. So if you're in the St. Louis area, come out to MightyCon next Saturday and Sunday and support independent comics and comics in general, and wear a costume. Wear one. It's costumes right. Back to you, Ryan.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, everyone, for watching the show. And we will see you next week. Thank you very much. Have a good night.